His command was the other Lafayette, James Armstead Lafayette. Most Americans have never heard of. Since I'm already talking about Lafayette, I'm just going to call him Armstead. Armstead was a former slave, and they used that to get him in close with someone really famous, General Cornwallis of the British Empire. So the British were taking in all of these former slaves that were, wanting to fight. Now, there were a lot of African Americans that fought on the American side, but the Brits were like, we'll free you. They were known as the Ethiopian Brigades until later after the war. Some actually went back to Africa, in which the Brits gave them a colony. You might have heard of it, called Sierra Leone. Armstead played up the idea that he was a slave and he ran away. And he got in the inner circle of this guy, meaning he was working as a servant, well, even more so than that. A kind of double agent, I should say. The Brits thought he was working for them, but realistically he was working for the American colonies. Armstead informs Lafayette that the British command has moved to Yorktown, which will be the center of all the command of the colonies. Now Washington, along with his French ally, Rochambeau, managed to get in here quick, along with the fleets that came in, cut off the British fleet, and laid siege at Yorktown. This is the last and most important battle of the war. This is where Hamilton and actually Rochambeau is another one, leading regiments and slowly taking these little forts up here. Now, Armstead fed most of the information about this place to Lafayette for this victory to happen. More importantly than anything else, he also said that the British were getting all their other colonies a relief force, a kind of like last-ditch effort to free them. And we need to get there now, and we need to close them off now. So that's what Washington did. Finally, Cornwallis knew he was beat, and he had to surrender. And this is where that song Yankee Doodle comes back in. So the British surrender, and as they're leaving the fort, they are walking between the French, with Rochambeau, and the Americans under George Washington. Now, the British, being pompous asses, refused to look at the Americans. They just looked towards the French. Cornwallis didn't even want to give his sword to Washington, so he had his second in command take the sword over to General Rochambeau. So, Lafayette sees this happening. He has this big band from the French side, and he has him play a song. That's right, Yankee Doodle. From the Battle of Yorktown, that song has now become a patriotic American song, when before it was designed to make fun of us. So, hoorah, Lafayette. Now, I mentioned the sword thing. So, General Rochambeau looks at the second in command of the British and shakes his head and points him to George Washington. So Washington refuses to take the sword, tells it to give it to his second in command. Now, the other general was like, nope, I don't want it. Put in a pile of weapons over there, all you surrendering fools. Now, I mentioned that was the last battle. The war will officially end with the Treaty of Paris of 1783.